The holographic projection flickered to life above the curved desk, displaying an orange and black striped creature mid-leap. Professor Aldrin Hayes watched his students carefully as the image rotated in 3 dimensions. Some leaned forward with curiosity. Others barely looked up from their datapads. "This is what we call a Bengal tiger," Hayes said, his voice calm and measured, native to Earth's Indian subcontinent. Weight approximately 300 kilograms. Length up to 3 meters. Bite force around 450 kilograms per square centimeter. A chittering laugh echoed from the back row. Fen, an insectoid student with 4 compound eyes, tapped his claws against the desk. His translator converted the clicking sounds into standard galactic speech. "Professor, forgive me, but this looks like something our younglings keep as pets. Surely Earth has more impressive predators than this." Several other students joined in the amusement. Rilla, whose crystalline body reflected the classroom lights in rainbow patterns, tilted her head. "On my homeworld of Crystallis, we have the stone crushers. They stand 5 meters tall and can bite through reinforced metals. Their hide can withstand plasma fire for several minutes before showing damage." Hayes nodded slowly, his expression unchanged. He had taught xenobiology at Harmony 7 Station for 12 cycles now. This reaction was not new. Every class of alien students went through the same phase when studying Earth wildlife. They compared. They measured. They laughed. "Interesting comparison, Rilla," Hayes said. He advanced the hologram to show the tiger's skeletal structure. "But tell me, how fast can your stone crushers move?" "They are ambush predators," Rilla replied. "Speed is not their primary advantage. The tiger can sprint at speeds up to 65 kilometers per hour," Hayes continued. "It can leap over 9 meters horizontally and 5 meters vertically. Its retractable claws are 10 centimeters long, curved like surgical blades, and unlike your stone crushers, it hunts alone." Borak, an amphibious student from the waterworld Tydalis, made a gurgling sound that his translator rendered as laughter. "Alone, how primitive. On Tydalis, our swamp crawlers hunt in groups of 20 or more. They use coordinated attacks and chemical signals to corner prey 3 times their size. A solitary hunter is just an evolutionary dead end." "Perhaps," Hayes said. He minimized the tiger hologram and brought up a new image. This one showed a simple graph. "But consider this. Earth has a gravity of 9.8 meters per second squared, higher than 70% of known inhabited worlds. Our atmosphere is dense with oxygen, approximately 21%. Our planet experiences extreme temperature variations, from -80 to +50 degrees Celsius depending on location and season." Tal, an avian student with iridescent blue feathers, raised one wing. "What does this have to do with your oversized cat, Professor?" "Everything," Hayes replied. "Earth is classified as a Class 4 death world in the Galactic database. Life there evolved under constant pressure. Competition for resources is fierce. The prey animals are fast, alert, and dangerous in their own right. The predators needed to become something special just to survive." Fen clicked his mandibles skeptically. "With respect, Professor Hayes, I have studied predator evolution across 40 different biomes. Size, armor, venom, pack tactics, these are the proven advantages. Your tiger has none of these in sufficient quantity. On my world, the hive hunters are half the size of your tiger, but carry molecular acid that dissolves organic matter in seconds. They communicate through pheromones across distances of 10 kilometers. They can coordinate attacks with thousands of individuals simultaneously." "Impressive," Hayes acknowledged. He pulled up another hologram, this one showing various Earth predators. "Lions, wolves, crocodiles, sharks. Earth has many predators. Some hunt in packs like your hive hunters. Others use ambush tactics. Some are built for pursuit over long distances. But the tiger combines multiple strategies into one perfect package." "Perfect is a strong word," Rilla said. Her crystalline voice had a musical quality. "I mean no disrespect to your homeworld, Professor. But from what you have shown us, I see nothing that would frighten anyone in this room. Certainly nothing that compares to the apex predators of our various worlds." Hayes smiled slightly. It was the expression his students had learned to recognize. It meant he was about to prove a point. "I appreciate your honesty, Rilla. In fact, I expected this reaction, which is why I have arranged something special." He tapped his datapad and a new screen appeared behind him. It showed a lush green forest, misty and dense. "This is the Bengal Preserve in northeastern Earth territory. It is a protected habitat for tigers and other native species. Ranger Nicole Reeves has agreed to host our class for a field observation trip. The classroom fell silent. Students exchanged glances. A field trip? Borak asked. You want us to visit your planet to see these tigers? Not just see them, Hayes said. Experience them. Understand them. The station has approved the excursion. We depart in 2 cycles. The trip is voluntary, but it will count for 40% of your final grade in this course. Fen chittered with amusement. Professor, are you seriously suggesting that seeing these animals in person will change our assessment? We have studied thousands of predator species through holograms and data analysis. Direct observation is merely confirmation of what we already know. Is it? Hayes asked. He closed the holograms and faced his class directly. I have been teaching xenobiology for many years. I have visited dozens of worlds and studied hundreds of predator species. Each one is remarkable in its own way. Your stone crushers, Rilla, are magnificent examples of armored evolution. Your hive hunters, Fen, demonstrate the power of collective intelligence. And your swamp crawlers, Borak, show how cooperation can overcome individual limitations. He paused, letting his words settle. But there is something about Earth's predators that data cannot fully convey. Something that must be experienced to be understood. I could show you 1,000 holograms of tigers. I could recite every statistic in our database. But until you see one move through its natural habitat, until you understand how it hunts, you will not comprehend what makes it truly dangerous. Tal ruffled his feathers. With all due respect, Professor, danger is relative. I come from a world where sky raptors hunt in flocks of 500. They can strip a large animal to bones in under a minute. What can one tiger do against that? Come to Earth and find out, Hayes said simply. The challenge hung in the air. Students looked at each other, some with curiosity, others with skepticism. Finally, Rilla spoke. Very well, Professor. We accept your invitation. It will be educational to see your tigers in their natural environment, and perhaps it will help us understand why humans have such fondness for these creatures. Perhaps it will, Hayes agreed. He dismissed the class with a gesture. As the students filed out, still chattering about their respective homeworld predators, Hayes remained at his desk. He pulled up the Bengal Preserve information again and sent a message to Ranger Reeves. They are coming, he wrote, and they have no idea what they are about to learn. Green stretched endlessly in every direction. Rilla pressed her crystalline hand against the transport window, watching the forest canopy roll past below. She had seen many worlds during her studies at Harmony 7, but Earth's vegetation density surprised her, trees packed together so tightly that barely any ground was visible between them. Impressive biomass, she said to Fen, who occupied the seat beside her, though the color scheme is monotonous. On Crystallis, our forests display at least 20 distinct hues. Fen clicked his mandibles in agreement. Chlorophyll-based photosynthesis. Very standard. On my homeworld, our plants use a triple pigment system that harvests light across a broader spectrum. The transport began its descent toward a clearing. A cluster of buildings became visible, built from what appeared to be local materials. Wood and stone construction, primitive but functional. The vessel touched down with barely a vibration, and the side door hissed open. Heat and humidity rolled into the cabin like a physical wall. Tal squawked in surprise, his feathers immediately slicking down against his body. By the void, what is this moisture content? Welcome to Earth, Professor Hayes said as he stood and stretched. The preserve experiences high humidity during this season. Your environmental suits will compensate, but you will still feel it. A human woman waited outside the transport, wearing practical field clothing in earth tones. Her dark hair was tied back, and she carried a datapad similar to those the students used. As the class descended the ramp, she stepped forward with a smile. Good afternoon, she said. I am Ranger Nicole Reeves, head of conservation here at Bengal Preserve. Professor Hayes has told me much about your group. I understand you are here to observe our tigers. Observe and evaluate, Borak said, his amphibious skin already glistening with absorbed moisture. At least the humidity agreed with his biology. We are curious to see what makes your predators worthy of study. Reeves exchanged a glance with Hayes. Something passed between them, an understanding that made Rilla's crystalline matrix tingle with unease. Well then, Reeves said, let us not waste time. We have a long afternoon ahead. She led them to a large vehicle with open sides and elevated seating. It looked sturdy but moved on simple wheels rather than hovering like proper transport. The students climbed aboard, claiming seats with views on all sides. An energy barrier shimmered faintly around the perimeter, barely visible but present. That barrier will keep insects and small animals out, Reeves explained as she took the driver position. It will also mask most of our scent from the wildlife. We want to observe natural behavior, not frightened animals. The vehicle rumbled to life with an internal combustion engine. Tal whistled in disbelief. You still use chemical fuel? The preserve operates on minimal technology, Reeves replied as they rolled forward onto a dirt path. We find that hovering vehicles disturb the animals too much. This is quieter, more natural. They entered the forest proper and the canopy closed overhead like a tunnel. Sunlight filtered through in scattered beams, illuminating floating particles of pollen and dust. The air smelled rich with decomposition and growth, the cycle of life proceeding at its ancient pace. Movement to the left, Hayes pointed. A group of spotted deer grazed in a small clearing. They looked up as the vehicle passed, ears swiveling to track the sound, but they did not flee. Their eyes were large and dark, alert for danger. Chital deer, Reeves explained. Primary prey species for tigers in this region. Notice their group behavior. Always at least one individual watching while others feed. Basic herd tactics, Fenn observed. We have similar species on dozens of worlds. The prey clusters together for security, relying on multiple sets of senses to detect predators. Indeed, Reeves agreed, and yet tigers successfully hunt them regularly. Think about what that means. Borak gurgled thoughtfully but said nothing. They continued deeper into the preserve. Monkeys chattered in the branches overhead, swinging between trees with casual grace. Birds of brilliant colors flashed past, their calls echoing through the forest. Several times they spotted other animals. A wild boar rooting in the undergrowth, a python draped across a branch, a mongoose darting across the path. Your biodiversity is adequate, Rila said, but I notice everything seems quite fragile. Soft skin, minimal armor, no obvious defensive weapons except for size. Earth's prey evolved speed and awareness instead of armor, Hayes said, which means Earth's predators evolved to be faster and more aware. The vehicle emerged into a more open area, where the trees thinned. A wide stream cut through the landscape, water flowing clear over smooth rocks. Reeves brought the vehicle to a stop and killed the engine. This is one of the tiger territories, she said quietly. We are now in the domain of an adult male we call Raja. He has held this territory for 4 years, which is remarkable longevity for a wild tiger. Where is he? Tal asked, scanning the area with his sharp avian eyes. Somewhere close, Reeves replied. Tigers are not easy to spot when they do not wish to be seen. Fenn clicked skeptically. I have thermal vision across 6 spectra. I see no large heat signatures except for those deer across the stream. Look again, Hayes suggested. More carefully. The students focused their various sensory organs on the surrounding area. Rilla adjusted her vision to detect different light wavelengths. Borak extended his chemical sensors, tasting the air for foreign scents. Tal cocked his head, listening for sounds humans could not hear. There, Borak said suddenly, pointing with a webbed hand. Behind those tall grasses, approximately 60 meters distant, large heat signature low to the ground. Now that they knew where to look, the tiger became visible. Raja lay in the shade of a thorny bush, his striped coat blending almost perfectly with the pattern of shadows and sunlight. Only his eyes moved, tracking the vehicle with calm interest. By the ancestors, Rila breathed. He is larger than the hologram suggested. Raja stood slowly, muscles rippling under his coat. He stretched like a domestic cat waking from sleep, except this cat weighed as much as 3 adult humans. Each paw was the size of a dinner plate. When he yawned, the students saw teeth designed for one purpose, killing. Impressive size, Fenn admitted. But my people's hive hunters attack with numbers. 1 tiger against 100 hunters would not survive. Perhaps not, Reeves said. But how many of your hunters would die in the attempt? And what if the tiger chose to retreat and attack from ambush later? Tigers are not just strong. They are intelligent, patient, and strategic. Raja began walking parallel to the stream, his movements liquid and silent despite his size. He moved like water flowing, like wind through grass, absolutely natural and completely controlled. Each step placed perfectly, weight distributed with unconscious precision. A deer on the far side of the stream lifted its head, nostrils flaring. It sensed something wrong but could not identify the threat. Raja froze mid-step, becoming part of the landscape. The deer stared in his direction for long seconds, then lowered its head to drink. "Watch now," Reeves whispered. "This is what makes tigers special." Raja dropped lower, belly almost touching the ground. He began to move forward in slow motion, each step taking several seconds. The tall grass swayed naturally around him, concealing his bulk. His eyes never left the deer. "The deer cannot see him," Tal said, surprised. "Even I can barely track his movement, and my vision is optimized for detecting motion." Tigers are ambush predators perfected by millions of years of evolution, Hayes explained softly. They do not chase prey across long distances like wolves. They do not rely on venom like serpents. They do not hunt in packs like your species. They do something harder. They get close, impossibly close. Raja was now 30 meters from the deer, then 25. The deer continued drinking, unaware of the death approaching with infinite patience. 20 meters, 15, why does the deer not smell him? Borak asked. Surely chemical detection would reveal his presence? Wind direction, Reeves pointed. Raja approached from downwind. He planned this. Tigers think several steps ahead. 10 meters separated predator from prey. Raja gathered his haunches beneath him, weight shifting back onto his powerful rear legs. Every muscle tensed. Then he exploded forward. The deer's head snapped up, but it was already too late. Raja covered 10 meters in less than 2 seconds, his body stretching to impossible length mid-leap. He crashed into the deer with the force of a landslide, jaws closing on its throat before it could even scream. The entire hunt, from final stalk to kill, took 8 seconds. Raja held the deer's throat until its struggles ceased, then released it and began dragging the carcass toward the trees. He paused once to look back at the vehicle, his expression unreadable before disappearing into the shadows. The students sat in complete silence. Finally, Rila spoke. That was more efficient than I expected. Would you like to see how they hunt at night? Reeves asked. That is when tigers are truly in their element. The students looked at each other with newfound uncertainty. Darkness settled over the preserve like a blanket, bringing with it a symphony of night sounds. Insects chirped in rhythmic waves. Somewhere distant, a bird called out with a haunting cry. The forest transformed into a different world once the sun disappeared, full of movement and hidden life. Reeves distributed thermal imaging devices to each student, small visors that fit over their various sensory organs. These will help you see in the dark, she explained. Heat signatures show up as bright colors against cooler backgrounds. Red and orange for warm objects, blue and purple for cool. They stood on an elevated platform built around a massive tree, its construction blending seamlessly with the natural environment. Metal supports had been disguised with bark and living vines. The platform stood 6 meters above the ground with a shimmering force field around its perimeter, strong enough to stop anything short of heavy weapons fire. This observation post overlooks a game trail, Reeves said, pointing down at a narrow path winding through the undergrowth below. Multiple animal species use it to access the water source half a kilometer east. We have recorded tiger activity here every night this week. Fenn adjusted his thermal visor, his compound eyes processing the infrared data in ways human technology could barely match. I see several heat signatures in the surrounding area. Small creatures, probably your rodents or similar. Nothing large enough to be a tiger. Give it time, Hayes said. He leaned against the railing, completely relaxed despite being suspended in a forest full of predators. Tigers hunt on their own schedule, not ours. Tal ruffled his feathers against the cooling night air. His homeworld had minimal temperature variation, and Earth's dramatic shift from day to night still felt unnatural to him. On my planet, night hunters rely on echolocation or bioluminescence. How do your tigers navigate in this darkness? Their eyes are designed for low light, Reeves answered. They have a layer of tissue behind the retina called the tapetum lucidum. It reflects light back through the retina, essentially giving them 2 chances to absorb each photon. Even minimal starlight or moonlight becomes sufficient for hunting. Clever adaptation, Rilla admitted. Her crystalline body glowed faintly in the darkness, internal energy making her visible from a distance. Though it seems limiting compared to active sensing methods, a sound rose from the forest below, cutting through the insect chorus. It started low and rough, then built into a roar that seemed to shake the very air. The call was powerful, primal, designed to carry across kilometers of dense forest. It spoke of strength and territory and ancient authority. Borak's amphibious skin paled to a lighter shade. "What was that?" "Raja," Reeves said with a slight smile, announcing his presence. Tigers vocalize to communicate with each other across their territories. That roar tells other tigers this area belongs to him. It also tells prey animals where he is, Fen observed. Why would a predator give away his position? Because he is confident enough not to care, Hayes replied. Raja knows the prey animals cannot escape his territory. They will be alert now, yes, but fear exhausts prey faster than running. Eventually they must rest, must eat, must drink, and when they do, he will be waiting. Movement appeared on the thermal display. A group of deer entered the game trail below, their heat signatures bright orange against the cool purple background. They moved nervously, stopping frequently to look around. The lead deer tested the air with her nose, searching for the scent of danger. They know a predator is near, Tal observed. Their body language shows extreme caution. Yes, Reeves agreed, but they need water. They have not drunk since morning. Thirst will eventually overcome caution. The deer moved forward in fits and starts, bunching together for psychological safety. Their ears swiveled constantly, tracking every sound. The lead deer took 3 steps, stopped, looked around, took 3 more steps. The group moved like a single organism, responding to each other's fear. There, Borak said suddenly, pointing to the left side of the thermal display. New heat signature, large, moving very slowly. A bright orange shape appeared on the screen, low to the ground and roughly tiger-sized, but it did not move like Raja had during the day. This movement was different, somehow more dangerous. The shape flowed through the undergrowth like smoke, barely disturbing the vegetation. That is not Raja, Reeves said quietly. That is Sundari, female tiger, slightly smaller than Raja but arguably more dangerous. She has 3 cubs to feed, which makes her an extremely motivated hunter. Sundari positioned herself downwind of the deer, approximately 40 meters away. Through the thermal imaging, the students could see her settling into a crouch, her body temperature slightly elevated from the stalk. She waited with absolute stillness. Why does she not attack? Rilla asked. She has the advantage of surprise. She is waiting for the perfect moment, Hayes explained. Tigers have roughly a 20% success rate when hunting. They cannot afford to waste energy on failed attempts. Sundari will wait until her chances of success are maximum. The deer continued their cautious approach to the water source. They were now 30 meters from Sundari's position. 25 meters. 20. The deer still do not detect her, Tal said with something like awe in his voice, even though she is so close. Watch how she moves, Reeves instructed. Sundari began her approach. Each movement was calculated perfection. When her paw descended, it found silent ground between dry leaves. When her body shifted forward, it moved. In sync with the swaying grass matching the natural rhythm of wind and vegetation, she became part of the environment itself, not separate from it but woven into it. 15 meters. 10. The lead deer suddenly tensed, some instinct screaming danger. Her head came up, eyes wide, muscles bunching for flight. But before she could move, Sundari exploded from cover. The tiger crossed 10 meters in 3 bounds, her body extending to impossible length with each leap. The deer scattered in panic, but Sundari had already chosen her target. She crashed into a younger deer with devastating force, her front legs wrapping around its body while her jaws sought the throat. But this deer was faster than the one Raja had caught. It twisted desperately, and Sundari's teeth missed the killing grip by centimeters. The deer kicked with its back legs, catching Sundari in the ribs. The impact would have seriously injured a lesser predator. Sundari barely seemed to notice. She adjusted her grip, claws digging deep into the deer's flanks, and pulled it off balance. They went down together in a tangle of limbs, rolling through the undergrowth. The deer screamed, a high-pitched sound of pure terror. 3 seconds after the initial contact, Sundari secured the throat hold. The deer's struggles weakened, then stopped. Remarkable adaptation to failure, Fen said quietly. His earlier mockery had disappeared entirely. She missed the initial kill strike but adjusted her strategy mid-attack. That requires significant processing speed and combat intelligence. Tigers are problem solvers, Hayes said. Evolution did not make them the biggest or the strongest. It made them smart enough to overcome obstacles. Sundari dragged her kill away from the trail, heading toward denser cover. She paused once in a patch of moonlight, and without the thermal imaging, the students could see her directly. Her coat gleamed orange and black, her eyes reflecting the light like twin flames. Blood stained her muzzle. She looked directly at the observation platform, and for a moment, it seemed she was looking into each student's soul. Then she disappeared into the shadows, taking her prey with her. "I want to be honest with you all," Borak said after a long silence. "When we started this trip, I thought Earth's predators would be primitive curiosities. I believed pack hunters were superior because they worked together, but now I understand something I did not before. Your tigers are not inferior for hunting alone. They are so efficient they do not need help. On Crystallis, our stone crushers are mighty," Rilla added. "They fear nothing because their armor protects them from almost all threats, but they are slow because of that armor. They are loud because they do not need to be quiet. Tigers are different. They are vulnerable to injury, so they became fast. They can be heard, so they became silent. They turned their weaknesses into strengths." Reeves nodded approvingly. "You are beginning to understand what makes Earth's predators special. They evolved on a world that gave them no easy advantages. Every trait they have was earned through survival." "I would like to see more," Tal said. "If possible. I want to understand how they navigate their territory, how they avoid conflicts with each other, how they raise their young." "We can arrange that," Reeves replied. "But it will require us to leave this platform and trek to another observation point. The path is safe and clearly marked. We use it for VIP tours. Are you comfortable with a night walk through the preserve?" The students looked at each other. In their thermal visors, they could see heat signatures of various animals moving through the forest, small creatures and large, predator and prey, all conducting their nightly business. The forest was alive with dangerous beauty. "Yes," Fen said, speaking for the group. "We are comfortable. We have environmental suits and force field generators. What could possibly go wrong?" Hayes and Reeves exchanged another one of those meaningful glances, but they said nothing. They simply gathered their equipment and prepared to descend from the platform, leading their students deeper into the territory of creatures who owned the night. The path through the forest glowed faintly under the light of handheld lamps, each student carrying one attached to their equipment belt. Reeves led the way with confident steps, following a trail marked by subtle signs. A carved symbol on a tree here, a reflective marker there, small indicators invisible to animals but clear to human eyes. "Stay within 3 meters of the person in front of you," Reeves instructed as they descended from the platform. "The path is safe, but wandering off it is not. This preserve is home to more than just tigers. There are wild boar that can be aggressive if startled, pythons in the trees, and at least 6 species of venomous snakes." Fen clicked his mandibles nervously. "Perhaps this expedition is more dangerous than I initially calculated." "You are safe as long as you follow instructions," Hayes said from his position at the rear of the group. "The preserve has hosted thousands of visitors over the years with 0 serious incidents. The animals generally avoid humans when they detect our presence. They move through the forest in single file, their lights creating a bubble of visibility in the surrounding darkness. Beyond the reach of the lamps, the night pressed in with weight and presence. Sounds came from every direction. Rustling leaves, snapping twigs, distant calls of unknown creatures. Tal walked in the middle of the group, his avian eyes darting from side to side. Despite his nervousness about the night trek, his scientific curiosity burned bright. Earth's ecosystem was genuinely fascinating, so different from his homeworld's sparse highlands. Every plant seemed to support multiple life forms. Every tree hosted entire communities of insects, birds, and small mammals. A flowering vine caught his attention, growing up the side of a large tree about 5 meters off the path. The flowers glowed with faint bioluminescence, creating tiny points of blue-green light in the darkness. Tal had studied bioluminescent plants in his xenobotany courses, but he had never seen this particular species. The pattern of light emission suggested a chemical process different from the standard lucifer and luciferase reaction. He slowed his pace, trying to get a better look. The group continued forward, their lights moving away. Just a few steps off the path, he told himself. Just close enough to take a scan with his datapad. He would catch up in seconds. Tal stepped over a fallen log and approached the glowing vine. Up close, it was even more remarkable. The flowers arranged themselves in spiral patterns, each petal producing light in a slightly different wavelength. His datapad hummed as it recorded chemical signatures and light frequencies. Behind him, a twig snapped. Tal spun around, his heart suddenly racing. The forest around him looked completely different from ground level in the dark. The path was no longer visible. The glow of his group's lights had vanished behind dense foliage. He turned in a circle, trying to orient himself, but every direction looked the same. "Professor Hayes?" he called out. "Ranger Reeves?" His voice seemed to vanish into the forest, absorbed by vegetation. He checked his communication device, pressing the activation stud. Nothing happened. He looked down and saw a crack across the screen. It must have broken when he climbed over that log. Panic began to creep into his thoughts like ice water. He was alone in a forest full of predators, separated from his group with no working communication device. His environmental suit would protect him from most threats, but the force field generator only activated if something actually attacked. It would not help him find his way back. He chose a direction that felt right and began walking. Branches caught at his feathers, leaves brushed his face. Every shadow seemed to hide danger. Every sound made him flinch. He walked for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. Then he emerged into a small clearing, barely 10 meters across. Moonlight filtered through a gap in the canopy, illuminating a space of trampled grass and scattered rocks. Tal stopped in the center, trying to calm his breathing. He needed to think logically. The group could not be far. If he called loudly enough, they would hear him. "Professor Hayes," he shouted as loud as his avian lungs allowed. "I am here. I am in a clearing." His voice echoed through the forest. Birds startled from nearby trees, flapping away into the night. Small animals scattered through the undergrowth, fleeing the noise. Everything ran from him, except one thing. Two eyes appeared at the edge of the clearing, reflecting the moonlight with an orange glow. They were set wide apart, suggesting a large head. They watched him with absolute focus, unblinking and calm. Tal's breath caught in his throat. He activated his thermal visor with shaking hands. The heat signature that appeared on his display made his blood freeze. Large, feline, approximately 150 kilograms. The shape was unmistakable. Sundari. The tiger stepped into the moonlight, her movements liquid and silent. She was even larger than she had appeared on the thermal display from the safety of the platform. Her muscles rippled under her striped coat with each step. Her tail moved slowly from side to side, not with agitation but with interest. She circled the clearing, staying about 15 meters away, her eyes never leaving Tal. She was studying him, analyzing this strange creature that had appeared in her territory. Her nostrils flared, taking in his alien scent. Her ears swiveled forward, listening to his rapid breathing. Tal remembered Hayes's lecture about predator behavior. Do not run. Running triggers the chase instinct. Do not show fear. Predators can sense it. Maintain eye contact, but do not stare aggressively. Make yourself large if possible. He spread his wings to their full span, trying to appear bigger. His feathers trembled, betraying his terror, but he held his ground. Sundari paused in her circling, head tilting slightly. She had never seen a creature like this before. Her cubs were safe in a den 2 kilometers away, so she felt no maternal urgency. She was simply curious. She took 3 steps closer, then 2 more. Now only 10 meters separated them. Tal could see every detail of her face. The white fur around her mouth, the black stripes that forked and flowed across her forehead, the small scars on her nose from previous hunts. Her teeth were visible behind slightly parted lips, each one curved and sharp. Tal's legs wanted to run. Every instinct in his body screamed to flee, to fly, to escape. But he knew with absolute certainty that running would end with those teeth closing on his neck. So he stood frozen, wings spread, meeting the tiger's gaze. Sundari sat down on her haunches, still watching him. Her tail continued its slow movement, brushing against the grass. She seemed to be thinking, weighing options, deciding whether this strange creature represented food, threat, or something else entirely. Time stretched impossibly. Each second felt like a minute. Each minute felt like an hour. Tal stood in the clearing, wings spread while a 300-pound predator decided his fate. Then lights appeared through the trees. The sound of an engine growled in the distance, growing rapidly louder. Sundari's head turned toward the noise, ears flicking in annoyance. She looked back at Tal one last time, her expression unreadable. The emergency response vehicle burst into the clearing, its headlights flooding the space with brilliant white light. Reeves sat in the driver's seat, one hand on the controls, the other holding a device that emitted a high-pitched whine. The sound made Tal's head hurt, but Sundari reacted much more strongly. The tiger backed away, shaking her head in discomfort. The frequency clearly irritated her sensitive hearing. She retreated to the edge of the clearing, then paused. Her eyes found Tal again, holding his gaze for one long moment. Then she turned and melted into the forest as if she had never existed. Hayes jumped from the vehicle, carrying a thermal blanket and a medical scanner. "Are you injured?" he asked, his voice tight with controlled urgency. "No," Tal managed to say. His wings finally dropped, exhaustion replacing fear. "I am not injured. I just wandered off the path. I thought it was only a few meters." "The forest is disorienting at night," Reeves said, keeping the sonic deterrent active. "Distances become difficult to judge. Directions lose meaning. You are fortunate Sundari was curious rather than hungry. She could have killed me," Tal said, the reality finally sinking in. "At any moment during those minutes she could have attacked." "Yes," Hayes agreed. "But she chose not to. Tigers kill for food and territory, not sport. You were not acting like prey, so she hesitated. That hesitation saved your life." Back at the observation bunker, the other students crowded around Tal, their earlier confidence completely shattered. They had watched the entire encounter through the drone feed that Reeves deployed. They had seen how close Sundari had come. They had seen how Tal stood frozen while death circled him with casual interest. "I mocked these animals," Fen said quietly. "I said they were nothing compared to my homeworld's hunters. I was wrong. Completely wrong. We all were," Rilla agreed. Her crystalline body dimmed with shame. "We measured them by our standards instead of understanding them on their own terms." Tal looked at his hands, which were still trembling. "She was magnificent. Terrifying and beautiful and perfect. I thought I understood predators because I had studied them in classrooms. But standing in front of one, feeling its eyes measure you, knowing it could end you with casual effort, that is something no hologram can teach." The emergency vehicle sat idling at the edge of the clearing, its lights creating harsh shadows that danced across the trees. Reeves kept one hand on the sonic deterrent control, her eyes scanning the forest perimeter. Sundari had retreated, but tigers were known for their patience. She might be watching from the darkness, waiting for the annoying sound to stop. "We need to move quickly," Reeves said to Hayes. "Sundari will not stay away forever. Her curiosity is strong, and we are in her core territory." Hayes helped Tal into the vehicle, wrapping the thermal blanket around the shaking student. Tal's feathers had puffed up in a stress response, making him look twice his normal size. His eyes remained wide with shock, pupils dilated. "How did you find me so fast?" Tal asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Your environmental suit has a tracking beacon," Hayes explained. "We noticed you were missing within 30 seconds. Your biosignature showed elevated stress levels and your position had stopped moving. We launched the drone immediately to assess the situation." Reeves pulled up a display screen on the vehicle's dashboard. It showed a map of the preserve with several moving dots. "These are the tigers we have tagged for research purposes. The blue dots are Raja and his 2 grown offspring. The green dots are Sundari and her 3 cubs. The red dot that just disappeared off the edge of the screen was Sundari." "She is moving away from us?" Tal asked hopefully. "For now," Reeves said. "But we are still in her territory. She is likely circling around, trying to understand what we are and whether we pose a threat to her cubs." Back at the observation bunker, the rest of the students huddled around the main monitor. They had watched the rescue through multiple camera feeds: the drone's aerial view, the vehicle's forward camera, even Tal's own suit camera, which had continued recording throughout the encounter. Now they were replaying the footage, analyzing every moment of Sundari's behavior. "Look at how she moves," Fen said, his mandibles clicking rapidly with agitation. "Each step is perfect. She tests the ground before putting full weight down. She positions her paws to avoid dry leaves and brittle sticks. It is not instinct. It is learned skill. And her approach pattern," Borak added, his amphibious skin showing stress colors. She did not come straight at Tal. She circled, maintaining distance, evaluating from multiple angles. She was gathering information before deciding on action. Rilla replayed the moment when Sundari sat down, her crystalline fingers manipulating the controls with unusual clumsiness. Here, this moment, she had decided not to attack. You can see it in her posture. Her muscles relax slightly. Her tail movement changes from hunting sweep to neutral position. She was no longer treating Tal as potential prey. Then what was she doing? Asked another student, a reptilian named Dries who had been quiet throughout the trip. Studying him, Rilla replied. The same way we study animals in our laboratories. She was conducting research. The door to the bunker opened and Reeves entered with Hayes and Tal. The students immediately surrounded their classmate, asking questions and expressing relief. Tal accepted their concern with tired grace, still processing what had happened. I need to tell you all something, Reeves said, her voice cutting through the chatter. Everyone fell silent. What happened tonight was dangerous, but it was also educational. Tal broke a fundamental rule by leaving the path, and he paid for that mistake with terror, but he also learned something that I could never teach in a classroom. She pulled up the video footage on the main screen. Watch Sundari's behavior carefully. At any point during those 5 minutes, she could have attacked. Tal's environmental suit would have activated its force field, yes. But the initial impact still would have caused serious injury. She was close enough that her first strike would have connected before the field fully engaged. Hayes stepped forward, pointing to specific moments in the video. Here, at timestamp 0347, Sundari shifts her weight back. That is the preparation for a pounce. But she does not commit. Why? Because Tal is not behaving like prey. He is not running. He is facing her. He is making himself large with spread wings. At timestamp 0412, Reeves continued, she takes 3 steps closer. This is a test. She is checking if proximity will trigger flight response. When Tal holds his ground, she reevaluates. And at timestamp 0633, Hayes said, she sits down. This is the moment she decides Tal is not worth the energy expenditure. He is unknown, possibly dangerous, definitely not acting like food. Tigers are efficient hunters. They do not waste effort on uncertain outcomes. Fen raised one clawed hand. But surely her curiosity could have overcome caution. On my world, predators often kill simply to investigate novel prey items. Earth predators think differently, Reeves explained. This planet's harsh environment punishes inefficiency. Sundari has cubs to feed and protect. She cannot afford injury from investigating strange creatures, so she watches, learns, and moves on. That calculation, that cost-benefit analysis, that is what millions of years of evolution created. Rilla's crystalline body pulsed with thoughtful light. We have been thinking about this wrong from the beginning. We compared tigers to our homeworld predators using metrics like size and venom and pack numbers. But those comparisons are meaningless. Tigers evolved for Earth-specific conditions. They are perfectly adapted for this environment. Exactly, Hayes said with approval. On Crystallis, your stone crushers are perfect for your world. On Fen's homeworld, hive hunters are ideal for that ecosystem. Here on Earth, tigers are the solution to this planet's challenges. Comparing them is like comparing water to air. Both are fluids, but they serve different purposes. I have a question, Tal said, his voice stronger now. He had removed the thermal blanket and was preening his ruffled feathers back into order. If Sundari decided I was not prey, why did she stay so long? Simple curiosity should have been satisfied in seconds. Hayes smiled. That is an excellent question, and the answer shows how intelligent tigers really are. She was not just curious about you. She was learning. Every new piece of information is valuable for survival. What does this strange creature smell like? How does it move? What sounds does it make? If she encounters something similar in the future, she now has data to reference. She was cataloging me, Tal said with wonder, adding me to her mental database of creatures in her territory. Yes, Reeves confirmed. We have observed this behavior before with tigers encountering new species introduced to the preserve. They study first, then decide on appropriate action. It is one reason tigers have survived while many other large predators have gone extinct. They adapt, Borak raised a webbed hand. I must make a confession. When we started this trip, I thought Earth predators were primitives. I believed pack hunters like my world's swamp crawlers were superior, because cooperation is advanced behavior. But now I understand that solitary hunting requires different intelligence. Tigers must make all decisions alone. They cannot rely on group strategy or shared information during a hunt. Every choice is individual, every risk is personal. On my world, Driss added, his reptilian voice raspy, we have ambush predators that hide in sand and strike at passing prey. Very effective, very simple. But tigers combine ambush with active stalking. They move between different hunting strategies based on terrain and prey behavior. That flexibility is remarkable. Hayes walked to the window of the bunker, looking out at the dark forest. Earth is classified as a death world, not because it has one or two dangerous species, but because everything here is in constant competition. The prey animals are fast and alert. The predators must be faster and more clever. The plants evolve defenses. The herbivores evolve countermeasures. Nothing gets a free advantage. Every trait is earned through survival. Tigers sit at the top of that brutal hierarchy, Reeves continued. They are what happens when evolution removes every inefficiency, every weakness, every wasted motion. What you see when you see a tiger is millions of years of refinement. They are not the biggest predators Earth ever produced. Prehistoric cats were larger. But tigers are the most successful because they balance power with intelligence, strength with strategy. Rilla approached the window, standing beside Hayes. Her crystalline body reflected the bunker lights in rainbow patterns. I need to apologize, Professor. When you first showed us holograms of tigers, I laughed. I thought they were inferior to my world's stone crushers because they lacked armor and size. But I was measuring value incorrectly. Tigers do not need armor because they never get hit. They do not need size because they hunt with precision. Your apology is appreciated but unnecessary, Hayes replied. This is exactly what I hoped you would learn. Not facts and figures about tigers, but understanding about adaptation and survival. You could have learned the statistics from a database, but you needed to experience the reality to truly comprehend it. What happens now? Fen asked. Do we return to the academy? Hayes shook his head. We have 2 more days in the preserve. Tomorrow, if you are willing. Ranger Reeves has arranged for us to visit the area where Sundari keeps her cubs. We will observe from a safe distance how she teaches them to hunt. You will see the intelligence passed from generation to generation. The students looked at each other. Their earlier arrogance had completely evaporated, replaced with genuine respect and curiosity. Even Tal, who had every reason to want to leave Earth immediately, nodded his agreement. I want to see the cubs, Tal said. I want to understand how these magnificent creatures ensure their survival. Tonight Sundari could have killed me. Instead, she chose to learn. I owe her the same courtesy. Morning sunlight filtered through the canopy in golden shafts, illuminating particles of pollen that drifted like snow through the air. The students stood on a different observation platform, this one built into the side of a cliff overlooking a rocky outcropping where Sundari had made her den. The entrance was a dark opening between 2 large boulders, partially hidden by hanging vines. Reeves checked her monitoring equipment, then nodded to Hayes. She left for hunting about an hour ago. The cubs should emerge soon. They usually come out mid-morning to play while she is away. How do you know she will not return while we are here? Rilla asked, her earlier confidence tempered with new caution. We are tracking her radio collar, Reeves replied, showing them the display. She is currently 4 kilometers north, stalking a herd of wild boar. That hunt will take hours. We have time. As if on cue, movement appeared at the den entrance. A small striped head poked out, whiskers twitching as the cub tested the air. Satisfied that no danger lurked nearby, the cub tumbled out into the sunlight, followed quickly by 2 siblings. They were perhaps 4 months old, still awkward with oversized paws and rounded features that made them look adorable despite their heritage. By the ancestors, Fen whispered. They are so small. And yet they are already learning to be apex predators, Hayes said quietly. Watch how they play. It is not random activity. They are practicing skills they will need for survival. The 3 cubs began wrestling with each other, rolling across the rocky ground in a tangle of striped fur and tiny claws. But their play had structure. One cub would stalk another, creeping low with exaggerated care, then pounce with surprising accuracy. The target would twist away, practicing escape movements. Then roles would reverse. They are rehearsing hunting scenarios, Borak observed. The stalker practices approach and attack. The prey practices detection and evasion. Both skills are being developed simultaneously. A 4th movement appeared from the den. Another cub, slightly larger than the others, emerged and sat at the entrance. This one did not join the play. Instead, it watched the surroundings with alert attention, head swiveling to track distant sounds. "That one is acting as a sentinel," Tal said. "While the others play, she maintains awareness of potential threats." "Yes," Reeves confirmed. Cubs take turns with different roles. They are learning cooperation, even though they will eventually hunt alone. The social skills they develop now will help them navigate territorial disputes and mating interactions as adults. One of the playing cubs broke away from the wrestling match and approached a fallen log. It crouched low, bottom wiggling as it prepared to pounce on an insect crawling across the bark. The pounce was clumsy and the cub missed by several centimeters. It tried again and missed again, but on the third attempt its tiny paws slapped down precisely on target. "Success through repetition," Rilla said softly. "She is teaching herself through trial and error. No parent is present to demonstrate, yet she knows instinctively what actions to practice. Instinct provides the framework," Hayes explained, "but skill comes from practice. A tiger cub is born knowing it should stalk and pounce, but becoming good at stalking and pouncing requires thousands of repetitions. Mother tigers spend months teaching cubs, demonstrating techniques, bringing them wounded prey to practice on." The sentinel cub suddenly tensed, staring at something in the forest below the den. All play stopped instantly. The three cubs froze in place, their attention snapping to their siblings' focus point. For several seconds, nothing moved. Then the sentinel relaxed and play resumed. "What did she detect?" Driss asked. Probably a deer or monkey," Reeves replied. "Something large enough to notice but not threatening." The cubs are learning to distinguish between different types of movement and sound. That discrimination ability will be crucial for hunting. They need to know when to hide, when to investigate, and when to attack. They watched the cubs for another hour, documenting behavior and asking questions. Hayes and Reeves answered each query with patience, providing context for every action. The students' data pads filled with notes and video recordings. This was no longer casual observation. They were conducting serious research, genuinely trying to understand these remarkable creatures. Finally, Reeves checked her tracking display and frowned. "Sundari is heading back. She must have made a successful kill. We need to leave before she arrives." The group gathered their equipment and descended from the platform. As they walked back toward the main research station, Fen fell into step beside Professor Hayes. "I have been thinking about something," Fen said. "You mentioned that Earth is a death world, that life here evolved under harsh conditions. But my home world also has dangers. We have predators and toxic environments and extreme weather. Why is Earth different?" Hayes considered the question carefully. "Many worlds have individual dangers. What makes Earth unusual is the concentration and variety of threats. High gravity that requires powerful musculature. Dense atmosphere that supports both fast flight and complex chemical signaling. Dramatic temperature variations that demand adaptability. And perhaps most importantly, intense competition at every trophic level." "Explain that last part," Fen requested. "On some worlds, one or two species dominate each ecological niche," Hayes said. "The top predator might have no serious competition. The primary herbivore might have abundant food sources, but Earth's biodiversity creates constant pressure. Tigers compete with leopards, dholes, bears, and even crocodiles. Deer must watch for predators from the ground and air. Plants compete for sunlight, water, and nutrients with thousands of other species. Nothing gets comfortable. Everything must constantly adapt or die." They reached the research station as afternoon settled in. The building was simple but well designed, with large windows offering views of the forest. Inside, a conference room had been prepared with comfortable seating and refreshments. The students gathered around a large table while Hayes pulled up a presentation on the wall screen. "We have one final session before you return to Harmony 7, Hayes said. "I want to discuss what you have learned and how it applies to your broader studies of xenobiology." Rilla spoke first. "I learned that I was judging predators by superficial characteristics. Size, armor, venom, these are tools, not measures of effectiveness. Tigers are effective because they are perfectly matched to their environment and prey." "I learned about efficiency," Borak added. "My world's swamp crawlers use overwhelming force and numbers. They succeed through redundancy, but tigers succeed through precision. Neither approach is better. They are simply different solutions to different problems." Tal shifted his wings, the memory of his encounter still fresh. "I learned the difference between knowing about something and understanding it. I had read about predator behavior, studied hunting strategies, analyzed attack patterns, But standing in front of Sundari taught me something no textbook could. Predators are not just biological machines following programming. They think, evaluate, and make decisions. Driss spoke up from his corner seat. I learned about respect. Not fear, but genuine respect for capabilities different from my own. Tigers evolved without technology, without tools, without language as we understand it. Yet they are successful because they mastered their role completely. Fen clicked his mandibles thoughtfully before speaking. I learned humility. I came to Earth expecting to find primitive creatures whose only advantage was living on their homeworld. Instead, I found animals more specialized and efficient than many technological species. The tiger does not need computers to calculate trajectory or thermal sensors to detect prey. Millions of years of evolution built those capabilities directly into their biology. Hayes nodded with satisfaction. Those are excellent observations. Now let me add one more perspective. Humans are also products of Earth's harsh environment. We evolved alongside these predators, competing with them for resources, defending ourselves against them, sometimes hunting them. This shaped human psychology and culture in profound ways. That is why humans are also classified as Death World species, Rilla said, understanding dawning in her voice. Precisely, Hayes confirmed. You will notice that very few species in the galactic community engage in persistence hunting, use complex tool manipulation, or demonstrate the particular kind of problem-solving that humans employ. These traits evolved because Earth demanded them. Just as tigers became perfect ambush predators, humans became perfect adaptable generalists. What does this mean for us as xenobiologists? Fen asked. It means you cannot judge species by comparing them to your homeworld templates, Hayes replied. Every planet creates its own solutions to survival. Your job is to understand those solutions on their own terms, not to rank them against arbitrary standards. Tigers are not inferior because they lack hive intelligence. Hive hunters are not inferior because they hunt in groups. They are different expressions of evolutionary success. Reeves entered the conference room carrying several data chips. These contain all the footage we captured during your visit, plus additional research materials about tiger behavior and ecology. You are welcome to use them for your studies. The students accepted the chips gratefully. As the session concluded and they prepared to pack for departure, Tall approached Reeves privately. Thank you, he said simply, for saving me, and for showing us something we needed to see. Reeves smiled. You are welcome. But I think you should thank Sundari as well. She chose not to harm you, even though you were vulnerable in her territory. That mercy is also part of what makes tigers remarkable. They kill when necessary, not from cruelty or sport. The next morning, the students boarded their transport for the return to Harmony 7. As the vessel lifted off, they watched the forest shrink below them, that endless sea of green hiding so much life and danger and beauty. Somewhere down there, Sundari was teaching her cubs to hunt. Raja was patrolling his territory. Dozens of other tigers were conducting the ancient business of survival. Back at the academy 2 weeks later, the students presented their field reports to a gathering of faculty and other students. Each presentation discussed tiger behavior, ecology, and evolution with depth and respect that surprised many in the audience. Gone was the mockery and dismissal. In its place was genuine scientific curiosity and appreciation. Tall's presentation focused on decision-making intelligence in solitary predators. He showed footage of his encounter with Sundari, narrating her thought process as she evaluated him. She could have attacked, he explained to the silent audience, but she chose to learn instead. That choice demonstrates cognitive flexibility that equals or exceeds many species we consider intelligent. Fen's presentation compared hunting efficiency across multiple biomes. His conclusion surprised many. Tigers achieve approximately the same success rate as hive hunters, despite lacking chemical communication and cooperative tactics. This suggests that solitary hunting with high intelligence is equally viable as group hunting with distributed intelligence. Rilla presented on evolutionary pressure and specialization. Earth's classification as a death world is not hyperbole, she stated firmly. The concentration of environmental stressors creates selective pressure that removes inefficiency ruthlessly. Tigers are not just apex predators. They are apex predators refined by one of the galaxy's harshest evolutionary crucibles. The presentation that drew the most attention was Borok's analysis of comparative predator metrics. He displayed graphs and charts showing that by traditional measures, size, venom, armor, tigers ranked average or below compared to predators from other worlds. But these metrics miss what matters, he explained. Tigers are not successful because of any single attribute. They are successful because every attribute works together in perfect harmony. They are systems, not collections of parts. After the presentations concluded, Professor Hayes stood to address the assembled students and faculty. These field reports demonstrate why experiential learning is irreplaceable. Numbers and holograms teach facts, but understanding requires contact with reality. My students went to Earth expecting to find curiosities. They returned with respect for different forms of excellence. Later that evening, Tal sat in his dorm room looking at a photograph he had taken from the observation platform. It showed Sundari sitting in that moonlit clearing, her eyes reflecting the camera light. He had the image printed and mounted on his wall, a reminder of the moment his perspective changed. A message notification appeared on his datapad. It was from Fen, sent to the entire class group. I did additional research on human classification as Death World species. Professor Hayes was right. Humans are not just from Earth. They are products of Earth shaped by the same forces that created tigers. Next semester, when we study human biology and psychology, I suggest we approach with the same respect we learned for tigers. Responses came quickly from the other students, all agreeing. Rilla added a final thought. We laughed at tigers because we did not understand what we were seeing. We measured them by the wrong standards. I wonder how many other species we have misunderstood the same way. Perhaps it is time to revise our entire approach to xenobiology. Tal looked at the photograph again, at those orange eyes that had measured him and found him interesting rather than threatening. Sundari had taught him something more valuable than any lecture. She had taught him that intelligence and danger come in many forms, that evolution creates solutions impossible to predict, and that respect must be earned through understanding, not granted based on familiar patterns. The tiger in the photograph seemed to look back at him across the distance of light years, a silent reminder that the universe was full of wonders waiting to be understood rather than judged.